yesterday, pageantry. Of course, we always see amazing scenes on the Mall with the end of the London Marathon every single year. Well, all entrants to the event next year, 2023, which opens on October the 1st in just a couple of weeks' time, they are going to be allowed to select whether they are male, female or non-binary for the first time. The organisers said this would make the event the most diverse, equitable and inclusive marathon in the world. The first time non-binary runners will be ranked separately from their male and female counterparts, and they can search for their running times accordingly. However, this is just for the non-professional racers. Why? Well, because there's a clear benefit if you are a biological male, i.e., a word we used to use, man, as opposed to a biological woman, i.e., a woman, in terms of your ability at speed. Well, let's talk to Maura Yamauchi about this. She is now a running coach, but she is a former elite marathon runner. Good morning to you, Maura.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. I would say this idea that this is somehow more diverse, equitable and inclusive, the relevance of your sex, not your gender, your sex to the marathon is quite clear, isn't it? Whether it's a professional run or an amateur run, you're going to be ranked in terms of your time, and your time is a good time or a bad time relative to other people in the race. Large part of that will be down to whether you were born a man or a woman. Since when you're born a man or a woman, you stay a man or a woman all your life, whatever you want to call yourselves. Is it relevant what gender someone wants to describe themselves as?
You're absolutely right. Your sex, male or female, is critical in sport, and in running, males run on average 10 to 12% faster than females. Let me say at the outset, though, that I absolutely believe that trans people must and should be welcome in sport, but this is a question of categories to ensure fair and safe competition. Let me also say that I'm a massive fan of the London Marathon. They do great work. It was a big part of my career.
It's a huge for charities. It's absolutely massive for fundraising.
Yeah, they do fantastic work. This isn't really about the London Marathon. This is about the capture of our organisations, institutions and sports bodies by the gender identity ideology lobby. And the London Marathon's announcement yesterday is simply the latest example of this. I have three main concerns about it. The first is they are offering, let me say that it's not just the professional runners, the elite, championship and good for age categories will remain only male and female. It's the mass race in which they are introducing a non-binary category. So any event like the London Marathon, which offers male, female and non-binary, are conflating biological sex, of which there are two, male and female, and this is part of material reality, with gender identity, which is what goes on in your head about how you feel and how you identify.
Which is totally irrelevant to running a race.
Yeah, the two are completely different, and the gender identity lobby wants to conflate the two because it undermines biological sex. That is exactly my second concern. Identifying as non-binary is irrelevant to sports competition and physical abilities, as is,
your favourite colour.
As a Sikh or Catholic or an atheist or being a left-wing voter. This is irrelevant to sports performance, so why would you include it as a sports category? And my third concern, and in effect what is happening is because males have advantages over females, now males will have effectively two categories to choose from in which they will enjoy fair competition.
Well, the not very good males can choose to identify as non-binary and then apparently do very well for their category. But there are no women who are going to win that category, are there?
Yeah, that's my third concern. Within the non-binary category, those whose sex is female will be at a disadvantage compared to those whose sex is male. If females want to submit themselves to unfair competition in that category, that's up to them. Personally, I wouldn't recommend it, but that's their choice.
But the key thing here is, you say it's very important that trans people, people who claim to be non-binary. Again, I'm sorry, I don't believe there's any such thing. You're born male or female. There is a tiny category of people who are born with both. That's a
different issue.
That's a completely different. That's not what we're talking about here. When any of us die in 200 years, if someone digs up our skeleton, they will be able to tell whether we were male or female, and how we identified is going to be completely irrelevant to that. This is the key thing. But this is what I don't understand, is that we're told this is like being inclusive, there's nothing stopping someone who is trans competing right now. But the question on the form is, what is your sex? What are you biologically? And if you're male, you have an advantage over a female automatically, simply by virtue of being a male and having the testosterone and the muscle, the mass, etc., etc.
The categories which are relevant to sports performance, as we've said numerous times before, are sex, age, disability if you have one, and in some sports, weight. How you identify, whether it's gender or religion or whatever, is completely irrelevant. I also want to mention one aspect about the Boston Marathon. Everybody has to qualify for the Boston Marathon, everybody, and it's quite difficult. Boston have said they will use the women's qualifying times in the new non-binary category, which obviously is going to be easier for males to clear than females. So females are at a disadvantage. And what I think, there's an important data issue in this as well.
Yeah.
Looking 10, 20 or more years down the road, we know that many young people are identifying many different ways on gender. There could be thousands of people in these categories.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. I think we're going down a crazy route, and we need to keep to biological six. We'll have to leave it there. Say time is against us. I hope you'll come on the show again. Really appreciate you joining us and talking, frankly, an awful lot of sense.